I'm replacing the battery in my CRF450x, so I thought I'd make a little video just to show you the battery box, how it looks, the dimensions, the location of everything in case you're away from your bike and you need to see the dimensions like I did. I didn't have a picture on my phone, so I was left high and dry. Went back a second time. This is the correct battery. I'll show you how to put it into. It's quick and easy, but maybe it'll help you out just to visualize it. You'll pretty much need a 10mm socket, wrench, whatever you got. I got a nice little socket here. You need to take your two seat belts off. You only need to take out the top two for your number plates here. You don't need to take out the whole number plate. Just need to take these two for the seat. I forgot to mention earlier, this is a 2014, and this is actually, a battery's been replaced before, but the bike gets stored at my parents' house sometimes before I got my new house. So the battery goes dead. It's common, these little tiny power sport batteries, they're not a deep cycle, of course, and they don't like being drained flat. So if you let them go, they usually don't come back. I gave this one a good charge at work and a good charger. It didn't come back for me, so here we are replacing it. You get two little shoulder bolts. So the bolts are actually kind of specific so you don't squat your plastics, just in case you've got a used bike. You're wondering what goes back there. Nice little 10mm. We're into our battery box area here. My bike actually has a cut air box, so normally there would be a cover here. Negative comes off first. Usually you get little Phillips and they can come out easy. You can get, depending on the battery, looks like about an 8mm hex. So you can put a socket on that if you need to, but they don't need to be that tight. You can usually get them as tight as you need with a Phillips, as long as they're not rounded out, of course. Most batteries will come with new hardware because they usually get crappy. So I take the negative off first, poke it out of the way, and then your positive off second. My bike has a little extra wiring, so normally the factory bike would just have this grounding strap, but mine has a dual sport light kit, so it has a little bit of accessory wiring here. Same for the positive side. Take my two bolts out, and inside the battery there's little nuts that just kind of hang out loose inside the terminals. I'll show you those in a second. But move all this stuff away. You don't want anything touching. Once your negative is off and out of the way, you're pretty much safe. But it's a good practice to just not let anything touch anything it shouldn't. And it's actually mechanically held down with these little rubber straps. You kind of give them a push, wiggle them out of the way, and fold your strap back, and then the battery comes out. Super easy. And it has a little tray here. Lots of nice rubber isolators. These rubber isolators are important because, of course, this is a dirt bike, so it's going to be bouncing. You want to have your battery isolated from the bike and not bouncing around. It needs to be secured, and it needs to not knock around against metal because you don't want to split this. We have our batteries. This will fit, but this is not the correct model number. This is a battery that you activate yourself and charge, though it usually comes with a factory activated battery. We got YTZ7S for a US number, and it's quite a bit more expensive, 148 Canadian. Though I think I paid, I don't know, maybe $60, $70 for this Canadian. So this is the correct dimensions, and this is a aftermarket equivalent to a Yuasa. This number is just a BTZ7S. But this is a sealed battery, and if you look at the specifications, we actually got 6.3 amp hour capacity versus a 4.2, and we got 130 cold cranking amp, and this is just an 80 cold cranking amp. So this battery should have quite a bit more performance, which is good because this battery really never was great in this bike. And if you let it go dead at all, it really didn't want to start the bike. So my fault. I shouldn't have bought this battery. I should have bought a nicer battery. Even this one's a little bit cheaper, I suppose, but I'll certainly try it for less than half the price of a USA. So let's see how it goes. I'll show you the dimensions here now, though. We have measured in inches 4 1/16 high, and wide we have about 4 5/16, and for the depth here we have 2 5/8. So that'll kind of give you a ballpark figure if you're trying to match something up. That's what it is, and these batteries fit tight in the bike, so you can't really go a whole lot past that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry I don't have the actual factory battery box, but I think it's quite close to this. Of course, the battery box doesn't encroach any more than this battery would. It has to come up and just kind of comes up and goes over, so it shouldn't actually affect you too much. But you can see the battery is pretty tight, and this aftermarket wiring doesn't affect it a whole lot. I mean, the battery has almost no room on any side, so you need to stick by those dimensions. You're not going to be able to fit anything bigger, taller, anything else like that. This is the battery that goes in there. And I mean, if you got the money, lithium would be awesome. My Africa Twin has a lithium, and that battery, I mean, it holds up to all the abuse. I actually don't put it on Tinder, and it always starts up and charges fine. We'll see how long it lasts, but that bike's a few years old, and we have Canadian winters, so it doesn't get ridden year round. This is the hardware it comes with. I know I mentioned some little nuts that float inside earlier. So these are those. This is common for a power sports battery. You take these little flat nuts and you slide them in. They make them this way, so some batteries can be mounted with a top post mount or a front post mount, you know what I mean? So you can have your terminals on this side or this side. So that's why they make them this way, even though they're a little bit fiddly. You kind of just stick them in. You stick them in the side of your battery, whichever orientation makes sense, and they just hang out there. These are the screws it came with, but what came out of it is actually a little bit longer, so I'm going to use those instead. They're a little bit easier. Get your screw, organize your terminals, keep them out of the way when you're connecting it up. Do it in the right order. Positive first, negative after. And I will put the screw through my aftermarket wiring first, and then through my factory wiring after. I've already done this before, but it's a good idea to have a look at your terminals, make sure there's no significant corrosion, and if there is, give them a little scuff off with some sandpaper so everything has a nice connection. And these only need to be kind of just as snug. This is soft metal we're working with here, so it all kind of squishes together. And just give it a nice little snug. Same thing with this side. Through my aftermarket wiring, try not to touch the terminal yet. Through this terminal, the factory terminal, and then connect it up. Make sure all your wires are routed in the right direction. Make sure you put your rubber cover back on, just in case anything touches, like a screwdriver across. Big no-no, you shouldn't have stuff lay on top of a battery, especially automotive guys. They might be used to that, but maybe that rubber cap will save you one day. Pull your little rubber tie down over. Battery stays in actually quite tight with just that rubber piece, and then of course your seat goes on top, so that also does kind of help keep it as like a extra fail safe. It can't come out with the seat on, and that's basically the install. Quick video, maybe it'll help you out, because it probably would have helped me out a couple days ago. If your bike's at your parents' house or if it's at a buddy's house just in storage, whatever, you can't get to it, can actually see what it looks like. Maybe this will give you a little insight, and if you need a more detailed picture, just shoot me a message. I can take a picture or take a measurement if you need something, doing a project bike, whatever that is. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.